Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. So I'm sure you've all seen how AI is really starting to, pop up everywhere. Like it's helping doctors diagnose diseases, and self-driving cars are becoming like more and more common. But today, we're going to take a deep dive into something even more cutting edge, the AI of tomorrow. It's kind of like AI for the people, but taken to a whole new level. And to help us explore this really exciting landscape, I've got a leading AI expert here with me today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive into this.
Okay, so we've got three main areas we're going to explore today. Artificial General Intelligence, or AGI for short. This is the kind of AI that, could potentially think and learn like us humans. Then we've got quantum AI, which is basically using those mind-bending rules of quantum mechanics to boost AI's capabilities. And finally, we'll be looking at neuromorphic computing. This is all about building AI that works more like the human brain. Pretty cool stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a really exciting time to be in this field.
Absolutely. So, ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Awesome. So let's start with AGI. Basically, AGI is about creating AI that can learn and reason across all sorts of tasks. It's not like the AI we have today, which is mostly, specialized in one specific thing. And get this, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, has been making some pretty amazing strides in AGI. They have this system called O3, and it recently achieved a 75.7% score on the semi-private evaluation set, which, believe me, is a huge jump in AI capabilities.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That score is really significant.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't, like, AI experts, what does that score actually mean?
Well, it basically means this AI can now adapt to new tasks and solve problems in ways that, we really haven't seen before.
So, like, how much smarter is this AI compared to, say, last year's models?
It's not just about, being smarter. It's about being more adaptable, more versatile.
Right, right.
So, for example, this O3 system was trained on this massive data set called ARC-AGI-1, which is filled with all these, like, super challenging reasoning tasks.
Okay, so what kind of tasks are we talking about?
Well, one thing that previous AI systems really struggled with was understanding complex instructions, but O3 was actually able to, like, learn how to play a totally new game just by reading the rule book. And get this, it actually won.
Wow, that's impressive. So this is like a big step toward real, like, general intelligence.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that.
This is pretty mind-blowing stuff. What else is OpenAI working on in this area?
Well, they've also developed these really intriguing models called O3 Mini and Deep Research, and these models are designed to actually think things through before responding.
Wait, so they're like taking their time to, process the information.
Exactly. Imagine an AI that could spend up to 30 minutes analyzing information and then produce a comprehensive report complete with citations, just like a human researcher would.
That's crazy. That's like having an AI research assistant.
If
And
Yeah.
think about what this could mean for, all sorts of fields like healthcare. AGI could help doctors diagnose diseases way faster, more accurately by analyzing tons of medical images, patient records, even genetic data. And it could revolutionize drug discovery.
Yeah, that's one of the most promising applications, by speeding up the process of identifying, potential drug candidates.
So basically, life-saving treatments could reach people a lot faster.
Exactly.
And let's not forget personalized healthcare guidance. Imagine an AI on your phone that analyzes your health data and gives you personalized advice, like, hey, you should probably get more sleep, or you might want to cut back on the sugar.
Yeah, that's definitely within the realm of possibility.
It all sounds incredibly promising, but are there any downsides to this level of AI?
Well, of course, any technology this powerful has potential risks.
Like what?
Well, we need to make sure AI is developed responsibly and ethically,
Okay.
especially when it comes to things like, job displacement and data privacy.
Yeah, those are big concerns.
We need to be asking tough questions, like how do we ensure these advancements benefit everyone? And how do we keep AI aligned with human values?
Those are really important questions, and one that we'll definitely be exploring further. But for now, let's switch gears to another game-changing field, quantum AI. So quantum computer is all about, leveraging that strange world of quantum mechanics to do calculations that would be impossible for our regular computers.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame.
And Google's quantum AI team just made a major breakthrough. They doubled the quantum circuit volume of their Sycamore processor. Okay, I have to admit, I'm a little lost here. What does quantum circuit volume even mean?
So think of it this way. Quantum computers are super sensitive to noise or interference, which can mess up their calculations.
Okay, so it's like static on a radio.
Kind of, yeah. So increasing the quantum circuit volume means they're getting better at handling this noise, and they can perform more complex calculations.
So this is a big deal.
It is. It suggests we're getting closer to something called quantum advantage, where quantum computers can actually outperform classical computers for specific tasks.
Okay, so what kind of tasks are we talking about? Like, how could this impact, me in my everyday life?
Well, one exciting development is Quantinuum's GenQAI framework. They're using quantum-generated data to improve the accuracy of AI models, which could have a huge impact on fields like drug discovery, material science, even financial modeling.
So we're talking about like new drugs being developed at lightning speed.
Potentially, yes.
That's amazing. It sounds like quantum AI could change so many aspects of our lives.
It definitely has a potential, but like with any new technology, we're still in the early stages.
Right.
There's a lot more to explore.
I feel like my brain is already getting a little overloaded with all this technical stuff. Can we switch to something a little easier to grasp?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, awesome. Let's talk about neuromorphic computing. This is all about building AI that works more like our own brains. So instead of those traditional computer chips, we're talking about chips that actually mimic the structure and function of the human brain.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating approach.
So we're basically talking about AI that can think like us.
Well, in a way, yes. The goal is to create AI that's more efficient, adaptable, and intuitive, just like our brains.
So, like, how is that different from the AI we have now?
Well, think about how our brains can effortlessly recognize patterns and make decisions without needing a ton of power.
Right.
That's because our neurons communicate through these tiny electrical spikes.
Okay.
And that's what neuromorphic computing is trying to replicate.
So instead of needing huge data centers, AI could run directly on our devices.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. And what about this Loihi 2 chip I keep hearing about?
Ah, yes. That's Intel's neuromorphic chip. It uses something called spiking neural networks to mimic how neurons communicate in the brain.
Spiking neural networks. That sounds pretty intense.
It is, but it's also super efficient. And because it's inspired by the brain, this type of AI is incredibly adaptable. It can learn and adjust to new information in real time.
So it's perfect for things like robotics, self-driving cars, and personalized healthcare devices.
Exactly.
Wow, it sounds like neuromorphic computing could bring AI even closer to our everyday lives.
Absolutely. And this is just the beginning. There are other neuromorphic chips out there, like BrainChip's Akida processor, which is specifically designed for AI applications on the edge, meaning it can process information directly on devices without needing to rely on the cloud.
So we've got AGI, quantum AI, and neuromorphic computing. It's like we're on the verge of a whole new era of AI. But before we get too carried away with all the amazing possibilities, let's take a step back and talk about the ethical side of things. As AI becomes more powerful and integrated into our lives, how do we ensure it's used responsibly?
That's a crucial question.
Like, we don't want to create some kind of dystopian future, right?
Definitely not. We need to make sure we're not just developing AI for technology's sake, but that we're also considering the human impact.
Right, right.
That's where things like explainable AI or XAI come in.
Explainable AI.
Yeah, it's basically about making sure we understand how AI systems are making decisions. We need to move away from that black box approach, where we have no idea how AI is arriving at its conclusions.
Especially in areas like healthcare, finance, and criminal justice.
Exactly. In those areas, it's crucial to have transparency and accountability.
So how does XAI work?
Well, it aims to provide insights into why an AI system made a particular decision. This could involve visualizing the decision process, generating natural language explanations, or offering counterfactual examples.
So it's like being able to peek inside the AI's mind.
Exactly.
And that level of transparency is essential for building trust in AI systems.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got XAI to help with transparency. But what about, like, government regulations? Are there any initiatives to ensure AIs develop ethically?
Actually, yeah, DARPA, the U.S. agency known for its cutting-edge research, has launched this initiative called the AI Next campaign.
Okay, and what's the focus of that?
Well, they're pushing the boundaries of AI research in a few key areas, like explainability, which we just talked about, robustness, which is all about making AI systems more reliable and less prone to errors, and next-generation algorithms, which are basically new and improved ways of teaching AI how to learn and solve problems.
So it's a more, like, holistic approach to AI development.
Exactly.
That's great to hear. Now, before we move on, I have to ask, have you heard about biohybrid systems?
Of course, it's an area where biology and technology intersect, creating some pretty mind-blowing possibilities.
It sounds straight out of science fiction. What are some real-world examples?
One example is biohybrid microswimmers. They're tiny robots that combine living microorganisms with synthetic parts. Researchers are exploring their potential for targeted drug delivery and other medical application.
So like tiny robots swimming through your bloodstream.
They-
That's incredible. But doesn't merging biology and technology raise some ethical questions?
Definitely. It's a field that requires careful consideration of the potential risks and benefits.
You're right. As we push the boundaries of AI, and explore these new frontiers. Open and honest discussions about the ethical implications are more important than ever.
I couldn't agree more.
Well said. So we've talked about the potential benefits and risks of all this amazing AI, but what about the bigger picture? Like, what kind of long-term impact could these technologies have on society?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
It is. We've touched on things like job displacement and data privacy, but what about the even bigger stuff? Like, how could AGI especially change things like labor markets, education, even our social and political structures?
Well, it's hard to predict exactly how things will play out, but it's clear that AGI has the potential to, reshape society as we know it.
In what ways?
Well, imagine a world where most jobs are automated. What would people do? How would we earn a living? These are like fundamental questions about the nature of work and the role of humans in a world increasingly driven by machines.
Yeah, it's a little daunting to think about.
It is, but it's not all doom and gloom. AGI could also free us from, those mundane tasks, allowing us to focus on more creative and fulfilling pursuits.
So it's not just about replacing jobs, but also about creating new opportunities.
Exactly. But it's crucial that we plan for these changes and invest in education and skill development so that everyone can benefit from AI advancements.
That makes sense. We need to make sure the transition to an AI-driven world is, equitable and doesn't leave anyone behind.
Absolutely.
And speaking of how we use AI, there's another topic we need to talk about, AI legal personhood.
Ah, yes. That's a fascinating one.
I have to admit, I don't fully understand what that means.
So essentially, it's the question of whether advanced AI systems should be granted, legal rights and responsibilities similar to humans or corporations.
So we're talking about AI having the same legal standing as a person.
That's the idea, though it's still a very early stage concept. There are a lot of ethical and legal complexities to work out.
Like what?
Well, for starters, if an AI system were to cause harm, who would be held responsible? The AI itself, its developers, or the users who interacted with it?
That's a tough one.
And what about things like intellectual property rights? If an AI creates a piece of art or music, who owns the copyright?
These are all really important questions.
They are, and they're questions that need to be addressed as AI continues to evolve.
It seems like we're venturing into some uncharted territory here.
We are. But that's why it's important to have these conversations now, before AI becomes so advanced that it forces these questions upon us.
It's better to be proactive than reactive.
Exactly.
So we've been talking a lot about the big picture stuff, but let's bring things down to earth for a bit and talk about how AI is already being used to solve real-world problems.
Sounds good to me.
You mentioned healthcare earlier. Let's dig into that a bit more.
Sure.
We've already touched on how AGI could revolutionize healthcare, but even the AI systems we have now are making a big impact, right?
Oh, absolutely. For example, AI algorithms are being used to analyze medical images, like X-rays and CT scans, helping radiologists detect signs of disease that might be missed by the human eye.
It's like having an extra set of super-powered eyes.
Exactly.
And AI is also being used to analyze huge data sets of patient information, identifying patterns and trends that can help doctors make better treatment decisions.
Yeah, it's not just about improving diagnosis, it's also about personalizing treatment plans.
So we're talking about more effective and tailored healthcare.
Exactly.
And what about those AI-powered chatbots that I keep hearing about?
Ah, yes, those are becoming increasingly common. They provide patients with, 24/7 access to medical information and support.
It's like having a virtual doctor in your pocket.
Kind of, yeah. Of course, AI should never replace human doctors, but it can be an incredibly valuable tool to augment their expertise and improve patient care.
It's a great example of how AI can be used to empower both medical professionals and patients.
Absolutely.
And it's not just limited to healthcare, right? AI is being applied to all sorts of societal challenges.
Oh, yeah, definitely. From climate change to education to poverty.
It sounds like AI has the potential to make a real difference in the world.
It does, but it's important to remember that AI is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
It's up to us to make sure we use it responsibly and ethically.
Exactly.
So we've talked about some of the potential benefits of AI. But let's be real, there are some serious ethical challenges that we need to address.
Absolutely.
We've touched on some of them already, but let's dive a bit deeper.
Sure.
One of the most pressing issues I keep hearing about is the problem of bias in AI systems. Can you explain what that means?
So AI systems are trained on data, right?
Right.
And that data can reflect existing biases in society. For example, If an AI system is trained on a dataset of resumes that mostly features male candidates, it might learn to favor male candidates over female candidates, even if those candidates have similar qualifications.
So the AI could unintentionally perpetuate gender bias in hiring.
Exactly. Or if an AI system is trained on a dataset of loan applications that disproportionately denies loans to people of color, it might perpetuate those discriminatory lending practices.
Wow, that's a serious problem.
It is. These biases can have real-world consequences.
So what can we do about it?
Well, there are a few things. First, we need to make sure that the data sets we use to train AI systems are diverse and representative of the populations they'll be used on.
Okay, that makes sense.
Second, we need to carefully evaluate AI systems for bias, using techniques like fairness audits.
So like testing the AI to see if it's making fair decisions.
Exactly. And third, we need to develop algorithms that are designed to be fair and impartial.
So it's about being proactive and making sure that fairness is baked into the AI from the start. What about privacy? AI systems often require access to a ton of personal data, right?
They do.
Doesn't that raise concerns about, privacy violations and data security?
Absolutely. For example, AI-powered facial recognition systems can be used to track people's movements without their knowledge or consent.
That's a bit creepy.
It is. And AI systems that analyze social media data can be used to infer people's personal beliefs and preferences, even if they haven't explicitly shared that information.
That's kind of unsettling.
It is. That's why it's so important to have clear guidelines and regulations in place to protect people's privacy in this age of AI.
So, like, what kind of guidelines are we talking about?
Well, for starters, people need to be aware of how their data is being collected and used. They should have control over their own data. And companies need to be held accountable for data breaches and misuse.
Right, that makes sense. So it's about finding that balance, right, between the potential benefits of AI and the need to protect individual privacy.
Exactly.
What about transparency and accountability? A lot of AI algorithms are, like, super complicated, right?
They are.
So how can we understand how they're making decisions?
That's a big challenge, and it's one of the reasons why explainable AI is so important. We need to be able to understand why an AI system made a particular decision, especially when that decision has significant consequences for someone's life.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say an AI system denies someone a loan or a job opportunity. It's important to be able to understand why that decision was made. Was it based on legitimate factors, like the applicant's credit score or work experience, or was it based on discriminatory factors, like the applicant's race or gender?
It seems like it would be hard to challenge a decision if you don't understand the reasoning behind it.
It is. That's why we need XAI, to help us make these systems more transparent and accountable.
So XAI is not just about understanding the AI, it's also about making sure that the AI is making fair and ethical decisions.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about bias, privacy, and transparency. What about the impact of AI on jobs? A lot of people are worried that AI is going to automate away their jobs.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
So what can we do to address that?
Well, we need to be proactive. We need to invest in education and training programs to help workers adapt to the changing job market.
So, like helping people develop new skills.
Exactly. We should also explore new economic models that take into account the potential impact of automation.
Like what kind of models?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about things like universal basic income, but there are other ideas out there too.
So it's about making sure that everyone has the opportunity to thrive, even in a world where AI is doing more and more of the work.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but I think it's important to remember that amidst all these concerns, AI also has the potential to make our lives better in countless ways.
Absolutely.
It's not all doom and gloom.
Definitely not.
AI can help us improve healthcare, address climate change, even enhance our creativity and productivity.
It's a powerful tool that can be used for good.
Can you give me some concrete examples of how AI could be used for good?
Sure. AI can be used to personalize education, tailoring lessons to each student's individual needs and learning styles.
That's cool.
It can be used to develop new energy sources, reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and combating climate change.
So, like, AI could help us save the planet.
Potentially, yes. And it can be used to create art, music, and literature, pushing the boundaries of human creativity.
That's amazing.
It is. The possibilities are really endless.
But as we explore these possibilities, it's important to keep in mind the human element.
Absolutely.
AI should not be seen as a replacement for humans,
Right.
but rather as a tool that can augment our abilities and help us achieve our goals.
It's about collaboration, not competition.
Exactly.
AI can help us to be more efficient, more creative, and more compassionate. It can help us to solve problems that have long seemed intractable, and it can help us to create a better future for ourselves and for generations to come.
That's a hopeful vision.
It is, but to achieve this vision, we need to approach AI with a sense of responsibility and humility.
You're right.
We need to recognize that AI is not a panacea, and we need to be mindful of the potential risks and unintended consequences.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it.
Exactly.
And it's about making sure that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits all of humanity, not just a select few.
Absolutely.
Well said. Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We're continuing our AI exploration, and we have a special guest, Dr. Emily Carter, a renowned AI ethicist, and you might know her book, The Moral Machine, AI and the Future of Human Values. Dr. Carter, thanks so much for joining us, Dr. Emily Carter. It's great to be here. I've been listening to your discussion, very interesting, and I really appreciate you tackling these important topics. Yeah, it's been a wild ride so far. We've covered AGI, quantum computing, even biohybrid systems, but the more we learn about these advancements, the more we realize how important the ethical side of things is, and that's why we're so glad to have you here today.
Yeah, Dr. Carter, we've been talking about the potential benefits of AI, but also the risks. How can we make sure that AI is developed and used in a way that aligns with human values? Dr. Emily Carter, that's the big question, isn't it? As AI gets more powerful and becomes part of our everyday lives, we have to think about the ethics proactively. We can't just wait and see what happens. Things like fairness, transparency, and accountability are really crucial. We have to make sure that AI is used to benefit everyone, not just a select few.
You mentioned fairness, transparency, and accountability. Those are some pretty big concepts. Could you break those down for us a bit? What do those actually look like when we're talking about AI? Dr. Emily Carter. Sure. So fairness means that AI systems should be designed and used in a way that doesn't discriminate against certain groups of people. We have to be very careful about the data that's used to train AI systems, because if that data is biased, the AI system will be biased too. Transparency means that we should be able to understand how AI systems are making decisions. We don't want AI to be a black box where we have no idea how it's coming to its conclusions, especially when those decisions have a big impact on people's lives, like in healthcare or finance or the justice system. And accountability means that someone should be responsible when things go wrong. If an AI system makes a mistake, who's to blame? Is it the developers of the system, the people who are using it? These are questions that we need to answer now, before we have a major incident.
We've been talking about explainable AI or XAI as a way to address this black box problem. Dr. Carter, what are your thoughts on that? Is XAI the solution? Dr. Emily Carter. XAI is a very promising area of research. It has the potential to help us understand how AI systems work and why they make the decisions they do. But it's not just a technical challenge. We also need to think about how we communicate that information to people who aren't AI experts. We need to make AI more understandable and accessible to everyone.
That's a great point. We need to bridge that gap between the tech world and, everyday people. Dr. Carter, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Jobs. A lot of people are worried that AI is going to take their jobs. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Emily Carter? The impact of AI on jobs is a complex issue. It's something that we need to be thinking about very carefully. On the one hand, AI can automate certain tasks, which could lead to job losses in some sectors. But on the other hand, AI can also create new jobs and opportunities that we haven't even thought of yet. The key is to be proactive. We need to invest in education and training programs to help people adapt to the changing job market. We also need to think about new economic models, like universal basic income. That could help people who are displaced by automation.
You talked about the importance of AI benefiting everyone, not just a select few. How can we ensure equitable access to these technologies, Dr. Emily Carter? Equitable access to AI is absolutely essential. We don't want to create a world where only the wealthy and privileged have access to the benefits of AI. That would only exacerbate existing inequalities. We need to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to participate in the AI revolution, regardless of their income, their education, or their background.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but if you had to give our listeners one piece of advice about navigating the future of AI, what would it be? Dr. Emily Carter. Stay informed, engage in the conversation, and don't be afraid to ask questions. The future of AI is not set in stone. It's something that we're all creating together. And the choices that we make today will determine what that future looks like. So let's make it a future that we can all be proud of. Dr. Emily Carter, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you.
Dr. Emily Carter, thank you for having me. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. It's a complex and rapidly evolving field, but it's one that's full of possibilities. So keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking those tough questions because the future of AI is in our hands. Until next time, keep diving deep.